Ladies and gentlemen, just a few hours after the Koumbri counteroffensive, the Burkinabe armed forces were not willing to give an inch to the enemy to regroup, remobilize, and re-strategize. So according to what we heard now today, 16 hours after the Koumbri counteroffensive that led to what looked like one of the greatest defeats of the JNIM in Burkina Faso, Burkina Faso has now gotten a feedback from their ISR during this whole phase of the counter-offensive in Koumbri. And according to reports, the Burkinabe armed forces actually went on foot after some of these elements that got injured from their bullet wound. And according to the information we have right now, they continue to obliterate some of these elements who couldn't make it beyond the enemy lines. Ladies and gentlemen, Koumbri, as we speak, has become a trap for the enemy. A well-planned offensive has now turned into a trap for the JNI. Now, moving forward, as if that is not enough, Captain Ibrahim Traoré just received a lot of equipment today in Burkina Faso. And he has handed over this equipment to his Minister of Defense. And according to the information we have, Captain Ibrahim Traoré said these equipments are not coming in just for the show off, for the publicity, for the media to know that Burkina Faso is acquiring equipment. According to the words of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, this equipment should now be moved to the various theaters of operation. None of this equipment should be lying in wait. Even the multiple flamethrowers. Everything now should be redeployed to the front line. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is really, really serious about the complete liberation of Burkina Faso. And according to the information we heard from Captain Ibrahim Traoré, that he is going to make Burkina safe at all costs. Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you at this point that with the way Burkina Faso is building up, I don't know, but it seemed to me like they are building in the right direction. And security-wise, if you look at the entire Sahel right now, including Chad, include anybody in the Sahel, it looks to me like Burkina Faso is the safest place amongst all. Now, to give credit to its neighbors, we do know that Mali and Niger gives it a sort of cover from the northern flanks. But Burkina in itself right now is becoming a military box. And don't forget, without a well-equipped military, sovereignty is not even a conversation you can have in this current world. Now, today, we saw Captain Ibrahim Traoré receiving dignitaries. We saw Captain Ibrahim Traoré receiving investors from the international space into Burkina Faso, some of which are even Burkinabes who are returning home to come and invest in Burkina Faso.
Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all. We sincerely thank Almighty God for this truly memorable and significant day that has graciously allowed us to gather together here, and I wish to extend to each and every one of you a most heartfelt and warm welcome to Burkina Faso, the esteemed land of upright and honorable people, for this very first and highly anticipated International Investment Forum in Burkina Faso. I would like to thank all those who made the effort to come to Burkina Faso, despite everything that is said about Burkina, especially by the Western media, which constantly tries to make people believe that Burkina Faso is an unlivable, impractical country. And yet, despite all that, you decided to come and take part in this forum. I want to say a special thank you to you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you to everyone. believe this forum is a tremendous opportunity, first and foremost, to understand one another. For me, this first forum is not necessarily about delving deeply into business relationships and such, but above all, about understanding Burkina Faso. So, right away, I mentioned the way Burkina is perceived by certain media and some countries, but the most important thing is to understand the revolution taking place in Burkina Faso. And I think we are the only country in Africa that has declared a revolution. And it may be difficult for an investor to understand what a revolution is and how to invest during a revolution. And I can assure you that in Africa, this may be the only opportunity available to invest safely. And it is essential that everyone who comes to invest understands this. For many years, a lot of investors have come to Burkina Faso. In this democracy that we know, many who came from elsewhere were betrayed, were disappointed, some were swindled, some were cheated. They ran into obstacles in the ministries or faced many refusals for permits. They encountered corruption and many other issues that prevented them from establishing themselves in Burkina Faso. Some, as everyone says, because many investors came back to us and explained to us all the misadventures they experienced in Burkina Faso during these years of democracy. And that is the downside of politics in Africa. Today, we are in a period of revolution, and no one needs to submit a permit application and wait for years, as was previously required before being able to set up. We do things with complete transparency. And that's practical. So this is the first step to being able to enter Burkina Faso. All these hassles are now a thing of the past, and you can come and invest in Burkina Faso with complete peace of mind. Secondly, we have put in place a lot of legal safeguards, if I can put it that way, to secure investments. And I think there is a book that helps to better understand why we want to protect the investments of nationals, and also those who come to invest in Burkina Faso. Because the revolution is a people's revolution. And what does people's mean? We have a very young population, and it would be mere stalling tactics to proclaim from the rooftops that we are fighting for youth employment, without thinking about industry and processing. So investment, and we believe that for young people to have jobs, we need to develop industry, we need to have local processing. And so who better than investors to support and provide jobs for young people? And so this is also one of the missions of our revolution. And thank God, Burkina Faso is a very resilient country, very young and extremely hardworking. Today, we have a youth that is fully committed to work because we have succeeded in changing many mindsets, getting people back to work, and the results are showing. So that's one more compelling and significant reason to be truly confident about thoughtfully investing in Burkina Faso and to have the absolutely necessary and highly qualified workforce readily available to support you effectively as well. There's also something I wanted to say to your investors, and that's the unique character of Burkina Faso in Africa. Let's be honest, I just gave you some facts right now. Burkina Faso is no longer following that logic. Investors should not come here trying to bribe a ministry, someone in a ministry, or the presidency in hopes of gaining advantages. We ban corruption from our activities. Investors should not come here thinking that Burkina Faso is like all the other countries in Africa either. Unfortunately, that's the case. It continues. People praise investment, but because of corruption, it turns into slavery. We are not following a model of investment that exposes our youth to slavery and exploitation. No, that's why we want to do things transparently, so that every party can benefit from investments in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is a very rich country. I was just talking about our human resources. We also have an immensely rich subsoil with various types of minerals. That's it. So we have fertile land for agriculture, and the government is putting a lot of energy and money into supporting our producers. And we also have many other assets of integrity and value that can be leveraged for investment opportunities. So I invite all of you to explore this range of possibilities and to understand that there are many opportunities in Burkina Faso. And we are here to provide sustainable support for investments in Burkina Faso in a spirit of mutual respect. We want to process our raw materials locally, so we need industry. And when we talk about raw materials, we mean those from the subsoil. We want the limestone we have to be processed into clinker in Burkina Faso and then turned into cement. We want our phosphate to be processed locally into fertilizer. We want our dolomite to be processed into lime on site. We want our manganese to be processed locally, our copper to be processed locally, and so on. We have great potential in terms of minerals. But we want to exploit and process it locally for the benefit of the youth of Burkina Faso and the investors who will come. We need to process a lot of our agricultural products locally. As I said, the state heavily subsidizes agriculture, and that's only natural. Burkina Faso is a major hub where we can set up many businesses to produce everything we need and supply the rest of the world. Because we have a truly hardworking youth, and they just need a little push to get going. So it's an incredibly open opportunity to get involved, and the state is truly willing to partner with you to ensure that your valuable investment is absolutely guaranteed. That's it, it's very important. Energy, which is a major challenge. There are many investors in the energy sector, and we have therefore instructed the Ministry of Energy to open up to anyone who wants to come and set up thermal power plants in Burkina Faso to produce and work with Sonabel. They are welcome as long as it's done properly, and I think there's no problem with that since all industries will inevitably need energy. So for those coming for industry and those coming for energy, I think there is a clear correlation that can be established. In addition to all this, I would also like to involve you, the economic operators of Burkina Faso, the Chamber of Commerce. In the past, there have been several instances where economic operators, often coming from elsewhere, have scammed, defrauded, and deceived, and I want you to uphold all the values of integrity of Burkina Faso. These are things we will not tolerate and will suppress with the utmost determination. Here we learn that someone who came from abroad to invest in Burkina Faso was betrayed by a Burkinabe. So I am telling you this. I am calling on everyone here as witnesses so that everything can be done properly and according to the rules. So, in terms of security and transport infrastructure, Burkina Faso is playing its part. We are fighting on the ground to reclaim all of our land so that we can secure all investments, but we are also working hard to build many roads to allow you to transport goods and everything else freely and safely. So once again, I welcome you, and I hope that everyone can benefit from this forum, whether it is a one-on-one or group meeting, as you like to say, so that investors can meet each other or connect with the relevant institutions, and together we can set Burkina Faso on the path to development along with the friends of Burkina Faso. The global geopolitical landscape has changed, and I believe that you who are here are our closest friends. Together, we can make a difference, and each of us with mutual respect can benefit from the current situation. Thank you very much to everyone. I hope that each of you returns home in very good health and that Burkina Faso will soon see new industries spring up as a result of this meeting. I will personally follow up with anyone who comes to invest in Burkina Faso to ensure that things proceed quickly and transparently.
And ladies and gentlemen, the things that Captain Ibrahim Traoré said was absolutely mind-boggling. I've never seen a leader in my time speak with so much intelligence without any sort of scripting. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's legend is real, to be honest with you. You know, sometimes I sit down and I be like, how will some people feel in Burkina Faso? You know, looking at it that we're old people, most especially the political class. Like, you know, how would they feel about this man ruling them, very young and all? But looking at the way this man just spoke today, man, Burkina Faso under his leadership, it almost don't have a vulnerability. Because when you look at the core value of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, man, and he was really happy to have the international guests coming to invest in Burkina Faso. And it was quick to also assert that investment in form of marginalization would not be tolerated. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is seriously intelligent. And again, About the visa issue in Burkina Faso, we are beginning to hear that the reason why the United States declared a transfer of all visa documentation to Lomé in Togo was because Burkina Faso stood its ground and rejected every possible means by which the United States wanted to dump illegal immigrants in Burkina Faso. Now, some people have said that some of those immigrants that the United States is trying to dump in Burkina Faso could even be CIA operatives. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the right decision was taken by Burkina Faso. And Burkina Faso has said equally that it's going to take corresponding countermeasure in the order of reciprocity. The way Burkina Faso operates is whatever you do to Burkina, Burkina does back to you. It's like mirroring whatever you've done. So in the same vein, Burkina Faso might be stopping every operational capacity in the United States too. It's just how the AES operates. It's always a tit for tat thing. That said, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about this move? If the United States said Burkina Faso is the global epicenter of terrorism, why would they want to send or forcefully redeploy foreign citizens from South America? Why would they want to redeploy them to Burkina Faso? Well, when they deploy them later, you start hearing that some of them will start calling themselves settlers. Burkina Faso does not want them. It's as simple as that. Without taking away the realities of those who the United States is deporting. Burkina Faso has stood tall against all odds in this era. First of all, it rejected the Bill Gates GMO. Secondly, it rejected the Bill Gates GMO mosquitoes. And third, it has now rejected the deportation of what America called illegal aliens. So the question is, how do you deport people against their will to what you so call the global epicenter of terrorism? It seemed to me that that statement wasn't true, right? And again, United States is called the land of the free and the home of the brave. So why this whole deportation all of a sudden? Why? And again, as if that is not enough. The United States seem to think that Burkina Faso has the same morality as Nigeria. No. Nigeria is one of the countries that when the United States threatened with visa ban or visa restriction, all hell breaks loose. Like everything is going to completely start dilapidating. But Burkina Faso has just proved that the United States visa is not a passport to heaven. And at this point, I will say this categorically. There is more of a future. There is more potential based on the resources, based on the strategic location, based on the leverage that Burkina Faso has on so many levels. There is a benefit in investing in Burkina Faso rather than traveling to the United States, where everything would likely be even more than expensive. I think anybody that has a very good foresight should be looking at Burkina Faso right now. Because in the nearest future, I don't know if it will even be affordable. So ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Mali continues to destroy all the technicals. According to the information, that we heard today, Mali continues airstrike in Zantiabugu region, in the Menaka region, because according to the information we are hearing, that some of these elements continue to try to lay ambush, a sort of guerrilla non-conventional warfare, to try to sabotage the energy of Mali, of the Malian civilians. But some way, somehow, energy tanks continue to enter Mali. And the Malian regime continues to work on different ways through which they will be able to rescue the situation and arrest some of these elements. But come to think of it, we are beginning to think that there might be inside collaboration with some of these elements. There is definitely external collaboration, but there might be internal collaboration. The solution for the Malians lies with the Malians themselves. Burkina Faso just seemed to have a lot of cohesion, and that is why we have a very stable situation in Burkina Faso. But the bigger problem in Mali is, I think Mali is bigger, and because of its wealth, there are a lot of people that are just, I don't know, making it difficult for their own liberation. It is not France that is really sabotaging Mali. It is the French within, the Malians that think they are more French than other Malians. So, ladies and gentlemen, kindly give us your opinion in the comment section below. It's your boy 7200 signing out. Enough said, but before I go, I wish you all the best of your weekend.